Hey everybody, and welcome to the first IHEARTHU.com King of the Hill. I am Artosis, and alongside me, of course, Doa.
That's right.
That's right, my partner in crime for Turn 2. We're here to cast some Hearthstone. Now, this is a King of the Hill type of, I guess, show match series we could call it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good name for it.
It's basically what we're going to do is whoever wins a particular match goes on to the next one and keeps going till they win. Winner stays. And it's going to be a best-of-7 format with 4 different decks, and they have to be different heroes.
Yeah, it's kind of a King of the Hill format too, really, because each player has 4 decks, the winning deck stays, and then the losing player has to bring out another deck to try to beat it. Basically the first to 4 wins, but I think it's cool because we get to see a lot of variation between the decks, we get to see a lot of different styles, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and forcing 4 decks, this is something kind of interesting because it looks like the format for competitive Hearthstone may end up at 3 decks. That's what's happening at BlizzCon.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
But the 4 decks is something that we definitely wanted to try, kind of make it a longer show and make it a little bit more interesting because we haven't had a ton of tournaments like this. And forcing 4 different heroes, that's a big chunk of heroes. We're definitely going to see a lot of differences, especially I would say in that 4th deck, whereas the first 3, I think right now people could kind of guess where that's going.
Yeah, I mean, there are like a lot of kind of common top decks right now, but if you take that number to 4, then you really kind of force the players to get creative. So while, a best of 7 with 4 decks may not be good for like a standard tournament thing, for a show match like this, it should be great.
Yeah, I think so. So, by the way, guys, we have already started to invite a lot of the top Hearthstone players around. For instance, Trump and Crip are both going to be very interested in playing. I'm sure you're all big fans of them. They're going to be interested in playing after BlizzCon, of course. They have to practice for that, so it makes a lot of sense. This week, we have Strifecro and LS, though, 2 of the top constructed players.
Yeah, they're really, really good, and they have similar styles, too. They're both kind of more control-oriented, so it's almost like a little bit of a mirror match, which is hard to have with all the different classes, but stylistically these guys try to do the same things in a lot of their decks. So we'll see how that matches up. We might have a little bit longer games today than we might in other matches, but it should be really, really good.
Yeah, I do have to echo that sentiment. These guys are very controlling. They play a lot of control decks, and you can already kind of see that on the screen here, but we'll get into that in a second.
Yes.
Let's talk about who these guys are.
Yeah.
LS, this is a guy I've known for a very long time. He's a young StarCraft player is the way I want to classify him, but he's someone that has qualified for the Pro Tour in Magic the Gathering. He's someone who was a top StarCraft 1 American Terran player. He was a top foreigner in StarCraft 2 for a while, and he was even very good at League of Legends as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he lived with the MVP team, who their teams went on to win a season here in Korea. One of their teams won the World Championships. He was Diamond 1 on the Korean server. So yeah, really, really talented guy in a lot of different games, and probably one of the highest APMs of any foreigner I've seen in StarCraft. I don't know how many keyboards this guy went through on a monthly basis when he played more StarCraft. But yeah, really, really talented guy in a lot of games.
And back on that APM topic there, I do have to say, whenever I'm playing customs with him over Skype, he is clicking all the little doodads on the map so quickly. Yeah. It's annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying, Ellis. Thank you for that.
He's a very good player, so make sure you check him out on Twitter and check out his stream when he is doing that. Now his opponent, Strifecro, this was actually a StarCraft player as well. He's also very big into Magic the Gathering, or at least he was. But in StarCraft 2, he was actually on Evil Geniuses, one of the best teams.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he was a really talented North American player, played a lot of 2v2 back in the day, and we're kind of seeing a lot of this love of strategy games kind of transfer from StarCraft and League of Legends and Magic the Gathering, and all of this is coming together in Hearthstone now. So you're seeing a lot of the same players that enjoy the sort of critical thinking way of playing different games, and so yeah, he's fitting into the scene quite nicely, and is also a really talented player in many different games, and we'll see if he can take on LS today.
And in fact, Strifecro was ranked when Blizzard released after that beta wipe. He was ranked 4th place or something on the constructed ladder. Yeah. So definitely one of the premier players, no doubt about it. He's a very strong guy that makes all of his own decks. Very, very personalized decks, and you can see that influence. But let's go ahead and start talking about the decks a little bit that these guys are at least going to start out with here today.
Yeah, well, we've got Priest versus Druid, as you can see on the screen right now. And we've got, again, two kind of slower, more control sort of oriented decks. If we go over to the right side of the screen right away and we look at the Druid deck, it's a bit of a ramp. You know, he's trying to build up a lot of mana quickly, trying to get out some big creatures. You and I were talking a little bit about the Venturecomb Mercenary. It's a good card. I like it a lot. I've been using it more often myself. But I could see it leading to some kind of awkward situations if he has it out and then suddenly he wants to play Ragnaros. Well, that's actually impossible because suddenly Ragnaros is 11 mana. So I'm really curious to see if he's going to be able to kind of make the Venture Co. Mercenary work in this deck.
You know, it's kind of interesting because I think about the matchup overall. Druid was the #1 control deck before the wipe.
Yeah, it was really good.
With Priest getting buffs, Priest is the #1 control deck now.
Yeah.
I think most people generally agree with that. Mind control, very powerful. They have a lot of really good minion removal, especially that Shadow Word Death just helps it in control versus control a lot. So normally when you have a Druid playing against a Priest, the Priest is going to have the edge up. You know, when you're starting to play your really big minions with Druid towards the end game, Priest might just steal them or erase them for a mere 3 mana. So
that's generally what happens now.
But I look at Venture Co. Mercenary and I'm like, this is kind of a good card against Priest in that way because you're going to play it way quicker than they can get a mind control. And if they want to mind control it, well, that's going to be a little bit awkward because then all their minions cost more. So,
yeah,
kind of interesting in that way.
You know, we were talking about this too before we started the cast, that like he can use Keeper of the Grove to silence it or something like that, and you know, remove the ability that it makes all his other minions cost more as well. By the same token, though, I still feel like it would be vulnerable a little bit to some of the other Priest stuff. I guess I'm looking to see if Shadow Word Death is in the deck list. It looks like it's not, actually.
He's got 2.
Oh, he does. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
All right, yeah, but so that's also a big vulnerability too because it does have 7 attack, so it is going to be vulnerable to that. So I don't know. That's my big question for Strifecro's deck is how is the Venture Co. Mercenary going to work out if it comes out? But we should talk a little bit about LS's deck as well. What do you think?
Well, LS, this is kind of the types of decks that you see LS make. This is one of his own versions. And you'll notice it kind of looks like a toolbox in a lot of ways. He has a lot of 1-ofs in the deck, like 1 Swamp Ooze, 1 Iron Beak, 1 Powered Shield, 1 Thought Steal, 1 Holy Nova. This type of deck, this is how he likes to play, and then he has a lot of expensive stuff for the end game. So if he lives through the early game, his decks are always really, really powerful towards the end.
Yeah,
so,
the one vulnerability that I've always like criticized him with this deck building too is just having so many 1-ofs, you know? Because a big part of CCGs is consistently being able to play the same strategy out every single game as often as possible. You know, that gets you wins. Now, in Hearthstone, where you only have a 30-card deck to begin with, having 1-of isn't as bad as, you know, reducing the numbers in some other card games as well. So I don't know. I'm really on the fence about having that many 1-ofs in a deck, but it's working well for him so far, so I can't criticize it too much, but I feel like that is a little bit of a vulnerability, as the consistency may not be quite as there. But he does have more utility by having a lot more varied cards.
Well, we're just about ready to get this match started. Very interesting players, interesting decks here. One thing I want to mention is that, you know, there's no observer client out, so we are actually taking streams from both players, and you might get confused right at the very beginning. In fact, we might get confused right at the very beginning.
We'll never get confused.
No, never. We'll just pretend we know exactly what's going on.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be jumping back and forth who's on the bottom, and there's some labeling going on the left-hand side of the screen so that you can try to pay attention to that. But each turn, we're going to watch it from their view. So we're going to try to remember the cards that the other player has as we switch over, as you don't actually do things on your opponent's turn. So, you know, I think that's a pretty good way to do it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure the Observer client is going to be great. We're going to be able to look at their decks and their hands and all that at the same time, but we have to work with what we have for now. The system seems really, really good in that we get a good long look at each hand and we get to see the player's perspective when they take each turn, so it should work out even if it is a little bit of flipping, which might be a bit disoriented, but it shouldn't be like Blair Witch Project levels disorienting, so I think we're okay.
Yes, a good way to put it. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we go. This is LS grabbing his first deck here. As we saw, he's going to be playing his hybrid priest deck.
Yep, that's right. No big mystery there, but we get to see just the mindset of the player moving his mouse cursor around. But he's already picked it, so it's okay. Not picking Mage. Come on, switch it over.
He's teasing us right now. He's thinking about it. course, we pulled it to the front screen, so this is a little bit anticlimactic. That's fine, though. That's fine.
We can maybe cut some of this off. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we should leave it in all its glory.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. We can at least see what decks that he's trying out in his practice, right?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of Murloc, a lot of Priest, it looks like. I'm curious about that Hunter deck, because Hunter has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit in the game.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't think he uses it in this one, but we'll see.
I've never played it against him, so... Or played against that, so I don't think he uses that much. Well, it's a very high-cost hand.
Let's go. Yeah, this is Strifecro's side, and he is mulliganing that whole thing as he rightfully should. And that's not a very good one either. That is a pretty garbage opening hand.
Yeah, that's really, really rough. Let's see what Last Shadow got. All right, another pretty expensive hand. I mean, the thing is you have to expect that they're going to get really expensive hands with this kind of deck, and you do have to kind of hope for the luck of the draw, I guess, the heart of the cards or whatever. But
that's the pain about playing a control deck with high mana costs, man. And look, this is a pretty high casting cost hand that he gets anyway. So
they're both going to be in the same boat, though, so shouldn't be a huge deal.
LS with nothing to do, and then we're not going to have anything here. First few turns are probably going to be pretty anticlimactic. No coin on this side, so you can't do anything quite yet.
Yeah.
Just a lot of passing back and forth.
So fast, so furious. Using that Druid ability, it's nice to build up the armor and do a little bit of damage anyway. Might as well. And there's your Blade Master.
Alright, so we'll see if this gets dealt with right away.
Yeah.
As he does hit go. As you can see, he's already clicking around. But, okay, we do have some spells here. Now that we have the healing spell, we don't really have enough damage for him to deal with that. So that actually is going to become a bit of a pain. If he could swipe right now, he'd be fine.
He could coin into swipe, but I don't think he'd want to waste that on a 4-3 like that. It looks like he's not going to anyway, just going to gain a little bit more mana. It's Thought Steal time.
Oh, wow. So he Thought Steals instead of healing up that minion. So now the swipe he could do without the coin if he wants.
He could.
He could even Wrath at this point.
Yeah, normally you want to like save a little bit more, but I think Wrath is going to be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, Wrath is not a bad call at all, I would say.
You know, honestly, you could also play Ventrico right now, but it might be a little bit overly ambitious.
Yeah, I think a Druid of the Claw is actually maybe not too bad. Well, you know what? There you go.
Wrath. Yeah,
Wrath, I think that is the best call.
Yeah.
So
build a little bit more armor, do a little bit of damage to the creature. I think that's fine.
I feel like it was a mistake for LS to do the Thought Steal so early. I don't know. I feel like he should have just healed that up, knowing that Druid uses damage to kill minions. But
yeah,
to each his own.
Well, I mean, he's got those cards to work with, so he's got that anyway. It looks like there's still going to be some ramp here. Okay, so he's just going to go ahead and take it out with the spell for now. Ooh, there's Sylvanas.
Yeah, using his full mana on that. He had a few ways he could have gotten rid of that. I like how he did it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of damage with the Argent Commander. I like those guys. It's one of my favorite cards in the game.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best, man. Seriously. Yeah. So how do you deal with this one? That's a little bit annoying, no matter what you put out.
Well, you know, now you may. Okay, so he's gonna probably do Sylvanas. He's got a couple ways to deal with it, spell-wise. Yeah. But I think creature-wise is gonna be the better way to do it. Ooh. He's gonna go ahead and take 4 damage. I mean, he's still. Personally, when I play, I will use up to like 10 health per game is usually my budget for taking out creatures with my hero itself. So being that he's still at 21 health, I think he's probably going to be okay. And now LS has a bit of a decision to make here.
Yeah, does he suicide and kill Sylvanas? Yeah. Or does he leave Sylvanas there? It's a tough one, man. I think that I would not suicide into Sylvanas and kill her. I think, I think you attack here.
You generally just want to ignore as long as possible.
You don't want to give Strifecro such card advantage by, you know, attacking in and using Shadow Word Death. That's, you know, it screws up all of your tempo and everything. I think here, just maybe attack, trade blows for a little bit, because Priest does have so much life gain. You know, you can win the race in that regard at least.
He's got to deal with it eventually, because you can't really play Ragnaros until he gets rid of it, because the last thing you want is to kill off Sylvanas with Ragnaros and then immediately lose Ragnaros because of it. So.
Yeah, you know, if he just... The thing is, he is at 7 mana, so he is really thinking hard, like, do I get rid of this Sylvanas now for Ragnaros next turn? And, you know what, I feel like you let this Sylvanas run her course, kind of, man. I think you start taking away Druid health.
I mean, the thing is he's got Shadow Word
there it is.
as well. So, okay, so yeah, I was wondering if that's what he was going to do. And that was good, because he was able to suicide his minion. It was, well, I mean, it wasn't perfect for him, but it was probably the best play good, because it does set up Ragnaros on turn 8. They both have Ragnaros, actually.
That's a really scary thing, Ragnaros turn 8. And in fact, now this is something that Strifecro has to think about, because he's in mind control range. You know, that's going to make it rough. If you play Ragnaros and it gets mind controlled the next turn, you're basically going to lose the game.
Yeah, it's no fun. And I mean, the thing is that Ventrico is still just sitting in his hand, and you really can't make much use of it right now.
That's true.
You know, in this particular case, because he's only got, you know, 3 incoming damage minimum next turn to worry about, it could be more, but I would just drop a bunch of creatures. Yeah, that's what he's going to do.
Okay.
All right, yeah. I think that's a good decision.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, the minimum, he can actually start removing some minions with the Strifecro. No, the Ventureco. That's so funny.
Strifecro Mercenary.
Yeah, that's the Strifecro Mercenary. So he can be pretty useful like that. Now, do you get rid of this, or do you just attack? Okay.
I think you just attack, yeah. I mean, he's got the health advantage by double, so yeah, I mean, in this particular situation, totally go all out.
Oh, looks like he is going to go ahead and do that burn. I don't know if I like that, because then he can actually attack the...
Well, he's thinking, well, if he attacks my, if he uses his Golem to attack my commander and then uses his Ventureco, at least then I'll kill the Ventureco, because he can reduce it to 4 health with that.
If he hits that, though, I think I use the Ventureco to kill off the Auchenai Priest, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just trade it anyway so you can cast another spell, right?
He's kind of giving Strifecro the choice, you know, it's like, all right, well, you can kill my Argent Commander, but it's gonna cost you your Ventureco Mercenary. Otherwise, you can just attack past it. I think it may be worth it, actually, to bring in the swipe now with a little bit extra damage. You know, use one of the columns and then possibly.
I would like to see Moonfire on the Argent, attack with the Mercenary, and then lay a minion. And I don't know if he wants to grab the Taunt minion right now and try to play more controlling.
Yeah,
or if he wants to try to drop Ragnaros. That's always a big risk. But, well, you cast Swipe. That's never a wrong choice. That card is so good.
Swipe is always so good, but I feel like he could have probably used that maybe a little bit more efficiently. Like you said, I mean, Moonfire would have taken the shield off. He could have killed the commander right away, and then traded with the Ventureco onto the Auchenai Priest without losing either minion. And now it's a little bit of an awkward situation.
So a double swipe, but that's going to allow the Golem to take out
yeah, you're right.
the Argent. So that works out pretty well.
Okay. He had to use both of his swipes, but
he can now do the beatdown, man. The Ventureco Mercenary.
There's a couple ways you could have played that out. He still has the coin, actually. He's going to pop it now for a hero.
Okay.
All right, that's not so bad. That worked out well, in fact.
Yeah, I know. He's got to get the damage down now, right? He's got 9 points the next turn. This puts him on a 2-turn clock if he doesn't heal. So at least he's starting to get in there with that. But
yeah, I'm still nervous about the fact that he used both of his swipes that turn. That always, like, whenever you have to use both of your removal cards and there's no more in your deck, I always get a little bit nervous when that happens. So we'll see how it ends up. I think it was fine, but I have this little, like, nagging piece of doubt in my mind now.
Okay, so do you think he's going to remove this Mercenary now with the Argent? I think he has. Does he have to?
I think he would be wise to in this particular case, because you're still vulnerable, but, I mean, it's tough to say. This is one of those situations, too, where you don't know what's in their hand. You don't know what's coming.
That's
so
true.
You gamble.
Like a Druid could theoretically kill him the next turn.
Exactly. This is a gambling turn.
A little bit. Yeah. Okay, no, well, killing that makes it so he does live no matter what. But that Mercenary actually did a lot for him, right? That ate up quite a bit of damage and whatnot.
Yeah, it's always an issue. I mean, it's always a threat when it's out there because it's so high health and so high attack that you have to do something about it. But I think in this case it was fine. Now, do you play Ragnaros this turn?
I don't think so. Yeah. I think maybe you play the Druid.
He could also go for the Healing Touch as well. I mean, not many people run those.
He could do Druid, Healing Touch.
Yeah.
And he could do a small attack. Of course, he does have that Wild Growth. Okay. He's actually just going to get rid of that. Oh, a charge. Oh, cool. Okay. So he's saying no card draw here, thank you very much. And that's going to leave him with a 4/3 minion, which is a pain in the ass to deal with as a priest. In fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw Holy Fire on that.
Yeah, any 4 damage minion is going to be a pain because you can't deal with it with all the Shadow Word stuff, which he doesn't have in his hand anyway, but that's what you're always worrying about. You know, when you're playing against a priest, you want to hit that, like, 4 attack sweet spot. Yeah, it's the perfect place to be at. Yeah. Now, if he plays this, that's really interesting to me. Yeah. Okay, the Injured Blade Master, that's kind of a slow, weird play. That doesn't do a whole lot for him here. I think a Holy Fire might be the way to go. Honestly, I like Ragnaros. You like it? I really do, because you're either going to kill the creature or you're going to do a lot of damage to him. Yeah, you're banking on the fact that he probably isn't going to be able to remove it. Looks like he's going to just go ahead and do that instead. In some ways, that's just a safe move. Like, you prevent the next 4 damage and you gain 5 life that turn. No way for Druid to kill you too quickly from here, at least. You can tell these guys are both, like, big-time control players. Not a lot of aggressive gambling going on. All right, there's Ventureco number 2.
All
This
right.
wouldn't be a bad time to play it.
No, I think this is a perfect time to play. I think you're right. Like,
Yeah.
the Venture Co right now is quite nice, in fact.
See what he decides to do, because it's still not dealing with the Soul Priest, but it's kind of like saying, all right, well now I have 2 big creatures out. What are you gonna do about it? I guess Faceless Manipulator can help handle that quite well. We'll see if he plays it. Prophet Felon is not bad though.
Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, he can
Yeah.
do 4 damage with his
Yep.
hero power because of that Akanai Priest.
Yeah, exactly. That still leaves it open to the Venture Co, and that's what he's worried about right now. But I think he's gonna go for it anyway because he doesn't like the spell power being
Fry the
as
dragon.
well. Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That would be kind of...
Yeah.
I think you fry the dragon here for sure.
I would expect that he will. That would make the most sense. Yeah, he's going to.
Yeah,
Okay. I was
yeah.
worried there for a second.
No, I'm like, that Blade Master is not going to make a big enough difference here.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so here's Strifecro now. I mean, not the most useful
He
things
could
that we've
actually
seen.
still get Ragnaros out because he's got the Innervate.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Or the Wild Growth. That'll give him a draw card, yeah. That's right. In case you don't know, if you add crystals above 10, you'll get a card that actually gives you another.
Look at that, 2 Innervates. He can actually...
Yeah.
This is a lot of stuff he has to work
still play
with.
it. He can still play it. I mean,
This is a hard choice for Strifecro, though, right?
Yeah.
I guess you have to take out the villain, but this is not a good place to be in.
he could still play Ragnaros and Innervate for the Healing Touch. I believe he still has enough mana.
And I
for that.
think
yeah, he does.
He would basically have to do that because if it got stolen next turn, he just loses the game.
Yeah, you have to gamble. You have to do it. Yeah.
All right, so he should do 1 Innervate, I think.
Oh, he's gonna end turn.
Whoa.
All right.
Well, that's a direct statement that.
Yeah. I mean, he can always Innervate the heal whenever he wants to, but by being only 12 health, it's a bit of a risk, and I think we may see that risk kind of come to the forefront here soon.
Rag versus Rag, man.
Yeah.
This is some scary stuff right here. Yeah, of course, no
It's a
sense
rag
to heal your Blade Master here, and
yeah.
well, that's a tough spot, huh?
Down to 4, and he would have been at 12 if he would have used that heal. And he, like I said, he can still do it anytime. He's got the Silence on Ragnaros now, which is useful. This still turns it into an 8/8, so it doesn't exactly save it.
You use your Innervates here, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Just
he's in a really bad situation.
he's probably dead. I think that this game is about to end.
Yeah, he can sustain himself for like 1 more turn, maybe, but
2 damage to that.
Yeah.
Oh, and he can Moonfire it. Okay, that's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's at 12 health, so he's not going to die yet, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, this is some really nice play by Strifecro.
Yeah, he's staying alive for now, but I mean the health advantage is so big for LS. Yeah, that would if he could have killed Ragnaros, it would have been huge. But
Yeah, you need a rag killer. Oh, God.
a double rag.
Double
yeah,
rag,
that's-
man. Oh,
and then he gets rid of it.
man.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. There's no way Strifecro is going to win from
Oh
this.
boy, is he gonna just double hit him? No. All right. One on
Well,
Ragnaros,
I mean,
one
I
on
think
him.
we're just going to see Strifecro GG here.
Yeah, I think so too.
You don't win from this situation.
And this is what happens in control basically.
Yeah, the Rag Wars. All right, that looks like that is it. And GG, LS takes game number 1. All right, so LS takes game number 1 there against Strifecro. And, you know, I kind of feel bad for Strifecro because I know that he was originally a Druid player when the game first came out. He was really focusing heavily on Druid before the White. But Druid, as we were talking about before, kind of a bad matchup against Priest.
You know, it's really tough, like you said, because Druid control relies on controlling the board early on and then getting big creatures out at the end. It doesn't need a lot of direct damage or anything like that. It's really just about hammering you with the big 8/8s and all that stuff that hits in the late game. And against Priest, yeah, you've got Mind Control, you've got Ragnaros like we saw. I mean, it's really hard for Control Druid to go up against Control Priest right now.
And there's not a lot of beatdown variants right now for Druid. Like, some people are starting to test them out, but nothing really top tier that you see a lot of. So
yeah, there's been like spell damage Druid stuff kind of like floating around a little bit, which is cool.
Some of that
but...
Treant stuff.
Yeah, the
no one's
Treant
going to
combo.
really work at the top level. So
Yeah.
kind of a bad matchup there for Strifecro, but now he gets to choose what deck to use here. And he's using a deck that he calls GFG, good effing game, duh. And there is a reason for that. Now, this is a deck that I played a couple different variants of Priest against this deck at least 15 to 20 times. And It is a good deck against Priest. If you get, as I'm sure a lot of Priest players know, if they get Draxus out and stabilize, there's not much you can do against just repeated Infernal tokens.
Right? Oh yeah, I mean, what do you do against Lord Jaraxxus, Eredar, Lord of the Burning Legions, right? It's not fun at all.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, mistake! That's what I do when I get Jaraxxus anyway. But yeah, if you look at Strifecro's deck, the big danger is the Void Terror. Like, he wants to put the Terror part in Void Terror in the forefront with that deck.
Void Terror we don't see a lot, but Strifecro really likes it. It actually fits well with some of those cards. And some of the things you'll always see from Strifecro, for instance, Harvest Golem, it's not in this deck. It was before when I was playtesting with him, but he's using, look at this, like a Novice Engineer. That's an easy treat for Void Terror. Yeah. Notice that he plays 2 Power Overwhelmings where you have to sacrifice the minion at the end of the turn.
Yeah, that's brilliant to have out with Void Terror. Yeah.
I mean, you attack with, like, let's say you're Novice Engineer. You attack for 5, and they're like, well, at least this goes away. And you're like, nope, Void Terror. And suddenly the Void Terror gets, what would that be? That would be +5, +6. So it would be like an 8, 9. And that can happen on, like, if you get the coin, that can happen turn 3, you can have that out.
What I really love is that he can use, like, his Amani Berserkers, the 2/3s, to maybe ping the littler guys and then enrage them and then absorb with the Void Terror to give it a really, really big attack boost. So there's a lot of really cool synergy in this deck. I've actually never seen this deck in action, so I'm really excited to see how it does against LS.
I think it's going to do a good job, man. I had a very hard time, and he was telling me that on the ladder against Priest, he basically doesn't lose with this deck. You know, he stays alive. He has enough minions in there to kind of mess around with you. You know, he's got enough removal. And the thing is, Priest normally, unless you're playing a very aggressive Priest variant, they're normally kind of mid-range to slow. Yeah. Which means he can use a lot of his card draw, a lot of his life tap.
Well, I mean, he's got such a good curve with this too, where he's got like a nice slow ramp up into things, and the Void Terrors are always kind of a threat because they're only 3 mana, but he's got stuff like, you know, Blood Imp and Flame Imp and Void Walker early on to really cause a lot of problems. So yeah, I think I mean, it certainly does look like a good matchup against Priest. It doesn't surprise me that he beats Priest a lot with it. So can LS take 2 games in a row with his Priest control?
Well, we'll see. I think that's probably LS's maybe his best deck. He's really comfortable with Priest. He really likes to play Priest a lot. I know when you play with him, he's probably using Priest most of the time.
Yeah, before patch, he was like a big Warlock player too. Yeah. So he's at least very familiar with the class. But yeah, I think his Priest deck is his best one right now from the games I played against him, and I think he's got an unfavorable matchup against this Warlock deck, but he's a really good Priest, so we'll see what he can do.
You know, I think what he needs to do, one final note before we get this game started, I think as Priest against a Warlock that is going to be drawing a lot of cards because you're playing a Priest control variant, not a really aggressive one, so life tap is so available. Yeah. I think you have to, as they approach 9 mana for Lord Jaraxxus, you have to keep the pressure on. You have to keep enough out there on the board that they're afraid to put down Jaraxxus, because the turn that you cast Jaraxxus, that's the only thing you're doing basically, right?
Usually, yeah.
You get like maybe the Jaraxxus attack in, but you're suddenly at 15 health, and if they have enough minions, it can get scary. So I think that's going to be the real flashpoint of the game. We're going to see around turn 7 or 8. Does LS have enough to stop Lord Jaraxxus if it's in Strifecro's hand?
It's a great point. Let's see if you can do it.
All right, let's get this game started. So here we are, Strifecro. Well, this is LS, of course. He has to stay with the Priest deck.
Yep.
And Strifecro gets to choose his now. Not surprised, of course, we already knew, but going with the GFG, the good effing game, which is
good
what he gets.
Good friendly game.
Good friendly game. That's his little nickname for his
good
Void Terrors.
Game.
So I think it's a great choice here, as we were talking about before.
Ooh, not a Soul Priest in the first hand.
Yeah, not the best opener.
Yeah, I can't blame him for keeping one. I think that's okay, but
the thing is, he might think this is Murloc. And if they have Murloc, Soul Priest is a good keeper.
That is true, yeah. You can really start pinging down Murlocs quickly if you do that. Always good to see the Void Walker in your hand on turn 1 as a Warlock.
Certainly.
It's a comfortable feeling, and I think he's going to keep that Shattered Sunflare too,
Yeah, that's a pretty solid opening hand. You can't complain too much. Argent, not the best, but, you know, turn 1 Void Walker, turn 2... or actually, turn 1 Flame Imp. Yeah, that's even better right there. For sure.
Now he's got his choice. I would go with the Flame Imp for sure.
Yeah, if they play a Cleric. They can't play a Cleric when you do that, so that's a pain.
That turn 1 Cleric is the most annoying thing in the entire world, and now he's got it, you know, and he's going to have a really hard time. Is he going to actually do it? No, he can't.
And here's another question. Are we going to see the slime come out. You know, are we going to see it? I don't think so. I think he wants to probably save it for Draxus, but we'll see.
I would agree, but I mean, it's like, how long do you let it sit there? The other problem too is that you need to deal with the Flame Imp, or that Cleric's never coming out. So yeah,
That's true.
I totally agree with this. Yeah,
it does make sense, and in fact, there's some serious beats starting on him right now. Look at this.
Yeah.
Now,
I love the second.
I think you play the Shattered Sun Cleric and put it on your taunt guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? This is what a pain that is, right? Oh my god, and that's some advantage right there.
Ellis is in big trouble already in this game. Yeah.
No, this is actually looking really bad for him. Look at this. These spells are just not any good. These are all later game spells. This early beatdown is really killing him, and he chooses to heal.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot else he can really do. I mean, anything he played would just probably immediately die at this point, and he's still ramping up to his bigger spells. So
I think he's waiting for he's praying for a Circle of Healing right now to try to clear this board out with the Auchenai Priest. But
yeah. Well, let's see. The Blood Imp would be a great play right now, obviously, too. I mean, the thing is like, I feel like Strifecro is already in the position where he's going to kind of just cruise to a win on this one. I've got a feeling it's not going to be a long game.
But, you know what, if he goes to, if he gets the Circle of Healing, which he does not get, that would be a big deal. But yeah, this is really, like, look at the amount of damage coming in. That's 9, 10, 11, possibly 12 if he wants it.
I'll believe whatever you say, man. I can't count on stream, so.
No, that's kind of a lot of damage, man. This is such a slow start for LS. Yeah. Oh my god, that's wait. 3, 6, 9, 11, 12 plus 4, 16.
Yeah,
and then he can Void Terror as well, whatever he did that to.
Yeah, he could nearly kill him this turn. Let's see.
God, but does he do that? Because
Sun, so 5 plus whatever's on the board.
You know, every priest in the world always has, in the early game, Shadow Word Death in their hand. So you have to be careful if you do use that Void Terror.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And in fact, LS does have one right now. But
right.
The thing is, if he just swings, as long as there's no Circle of Healing.
Yeah, I mean, he can just kind of keep cruising here. He doesn't really even need to worry about playing some of those. This is a situation where you actually probably want to save a couple creatures in your hand in anticipation of big removal coming.
I could see him, if he knows that Circle of Healing's being played, which he did not see last game, using the Shattered Sun Cleric on the other Shattered Sun Cleric. And then suddenly it's a lot of health and 4 attack, which is really hard to deal with.
Oh boy, here he comes. Here's a Void Terror.
And there it is, GFG, man.
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't put it between the other two to get him even buffer, but he's anticipating the spill, which is smart. Yeah.
And there it is. So it does get removed, but this is still too much damage.
I just like big numbers. So.
That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah, he's got it.
I mean, he's dead, right?
With the
that's actually, he is dead. That's all the damage you need right there.
Wow,
so,
that was fast.
Yeah, this is kind of, I love Strifecro's deck. But anyways, GG, tied up 1-1. So it's tied up 1-1 now.
Good.
And we see the deck being chosen by LS, and this is a really good counter to a Warlock deck, of course. A Mage deck, a very aggressive one. This is actually almost exactly my build that I gave to LS. He's calling it Blue Deck Wins here. I'm not surprised. It's a. Do you remember Red Deck Wins?
I hate the term Red Deck Wins. All right, can I just say this for a second? I hate the term Red Deck Wins because it's just like angry people who lost to Red decks that made that. And it's actually called like Red Sly or like other variations of like Red Aggro. That's the name. It's not Red Deck Wins, guys. Come on.
Well,
don't
I gotta say, I played all ranges, but.
Yeah.
It's kind of an annoying name, but it's funny to call this. I was actually planning on calling the deck Mage Deck Wins because it's like it's just burn and early minions, and I don't know that I can't equate Mage with blue in this game, even though it has the card called Counterspell. I can't do it, Noah.
Yeah, I mean it really does. This deck actually, or this type of deck, because this has been getting popular. A different player, Moon, won one of the Mana Grind tournaments recently with a similar deck to this, and this is really close. I feel like to getting to that Red Sly style in Magic the Gathering, where it's a lot of aggressive, powerful creatures early on, and then just a lot of very targeted removal to kind of get your damage through. So I love this stuff. I'm a big aggro player myself, so I'm really excited to see this deck.
Well, it's super aggressive. I can tell you I've played quite a few games with this exact build here. It can kill you real quick, man. Yeah. Like, it will get you down into Pyroblast range very, very quickly before turn 8 almost every single time. And it feels like a free win against Warlock all the time because so much of Warlock is based off of using that life tap because it's such a powerful hero ability, but as soon as you start helping them with damage, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, Warlock does suffer against aggro just in general, again, because of their hero ability and because of a couple other things. And the other factor, too, is that those early creatures that were so devastating against the Priest last game are going to be removed relatively quickly by a Mage class deck. So, yeah, I think it's kind of another mismatch in favor of LS this time around, but we'll see if he can kind of pick up the win.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of the interesting thing about Hearthstone right now. A lot of the classes can go against each other. You're going to have enough decks in either a best of 5, a best of 7, whatever, where you can kind of counter each other back and forth a few times. And, you know, of course, it's not like a free win all the time. Like, this won't necessarily look completely one-sided. It could. We'll see what draws they get. But
that's the thing. It always depends on the draw. Like, any CCG, you can have the best deck in the world, and every once in a while you get that just perfectly horrible hand. So.
Perfectly horrible hands, yes. Feels like it's all the time sometimes.
Yeah, kind of does.
So, are you ready, Noah? Shall we start this?
So ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into game number 3. Here we go. LS going to be picking the blue deck wins, as he calls it, or mage deck wins. A very aggressive mage deck, lots of damage, some early minions. Pretty scary deck.
Yeah, it's really kind of different from a lot of mage decks as well, too, because when everybody thinks about mage in Hearthstone, they think about big AoE sort of control stuff.
Flame strikes.
Exactly, yeah, a lot of Blizzard and all that. And while some of that does exist in this deck, it's much more oriented around targeted, like single target nukes and pokes and things like that, just to let your creatures get through and do damage. So you've got a lot of very solid, cost-efficient creatures coming into that give little buffs to each other usually, and it's really, really fun. I've been playing not this particular deck, but this style a lot with Mage, and I love it.
It is a lot of fun.
Hey, Ragnaros, what's up?
You get to do your own thing. Okay, so this opening hand, I would say not actually that bad. Blood Imp, a great card against Mage overall. It's going to make all of your guys ping-proof, so that silly little Mage power doesn't just kill you.
Yeah, I think he's got a great hand starting off, and I mean, it's very cheap, you know, so he'll cycle through it quickly, but oh wow, look at that. 200 class. Keep.
Yeah, that's a pretty poor opening hand. Let's see what he gets. Does he get any mana worms?
Good.
Got a mana worm. Cold, not too bad, especially considering this version of Warlock plays a decent amount of minions.
He's definitely going to find a use for that Clone of Cold quickly, and he's actually
It'll get rid of the Blood Imp.
Exactly, yeah, and I mean, he's got that turn 1 too, so he's got the worm out there. Flipping over to Last Shadow's side, or Strifecro's side rather. What does he play? I feel like you can actually go Blood Imp and Voidwalker this turn if you coin. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
I think that's not a bad idea. Like, the coin is very useful, but does he need the coin for anything else?
I don't know. I always use the coin ASAP, but that's just me.
Well, when I see a first turn mana worm, I'm afraid of the amount of damage going to be coming, but let's see. He wants to save the coin a little bit longer. Oh, he already has Drax in his hand as well as the Sylvanas. The Sylvanas is not going to be very useful this game.
Well, with the amount of damage he's going to be taking, he may want to save that for a turn 8 Draxus, honestly. We'll see.
Yeah, it could be. That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
All right, so drops that 1/3 there. Not a bad choice. Now, does he do anything else? Does he coin out his Voidwalker?
You know, you could. It's not like his Blood Imp is in any danger or anything like that, but
you could coin. The thing is, you don't want to use Soulfire if you do coin out the Voidwalker, because it might get rid of Draxus, which, if this game goes that long, he's probably going to need Draxus.
I would totally not use Soulfire. And this is the reason why I don't use Soulfire that often in my Warlock decks, because I hate the random discard. It works out plenty of times, but the one time it doesn't, it's usually, like, game-breakingly bad, you know? So I always worry he's
going for it. Okay, that's the best it could have been.
That's perfect, man. Yeah.
Nice.
You don't need Sylvanas in this particular case that much.
I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, he's going to be okay.
Does he Voidwalker, though? I think actually maybe not, because you can attack... Well...
The reason that I would Voidwalker is because I would be worried about things like Arcane Missiles coming out.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Especially, I mean, he handled the Void Worm, so post Void Worm, I'm like, you don't really need to coin then, but if he couldn't have handled the Void Worm, I would actually have absolutely put that out, because Arcane Missiles are such a threat, so you need some sort of taunter up there and some way to kind of mitigate more damage. But wow, there you go.
Strong turn there from LS.
Yeah.
That was good targeting. I did like, by the way, how Strifecro spread his minions out so that Cone of Cold wouldn't be such a big deal.
Yeah. Positioning is so important against mages. We saw a little bit of that right there. So he could Blizzard, and I think he will. Yep. He
Okay.
will. Just locks it up, does 3 damage. I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, those 2 minions would control the board too heavily. Like, he would lose his little apprentice there, and the apprentice is such a good card, so you got to be careful about that.
You can start pinging and things like that next turn too, so that's good. Now, Strifecro.
Do you play the flame?
Yeah, I think you have to, because you need to have something on the board. Even though it does mean 4 damage that you've done to yourself this turn, I think it's okay. I think it's necessary.
With the Blizzard already gone, you know, I think it's, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, ping that. Probably throw a fireball at the Warlock head right now as well, I would say. I would be actually pretty surprised if he doesn't fireball right now.
Yeah, because I mean,
he needs to get that out of his hand.
Right, and I mean, he's going to take some damage, but this is a way to get a big life advantage, and he may not do it, actually.
I think he should do it, man.
Yeah.
Like, this Warlock is not going to live to Draxus, it looks like. See, on turn 7 or 8, you know, the coin isn't here anymore. Draxus is going to come on turn 9, which means Pyroblast is going to come out before Draxus, no matter what.
Yeah.
So he literally, if no life gain happens for Strifecro, he only needs 3 more damage.
Yeah.
And the game is going to be his.
Yeah, I think overall Ellis is in a really good spot with this deck right now. I mean, Strifecro, like you said, he's probably not going to get your access. Can't really make too much use of the other cards he has. He's going to go with the Monty Berserker in this case. Can't afford the Commander right yet. And there's that Pyroblast lurking.
Oh, this is it. That's, I mean, there's no way, right? He's going to have to gain life, and he doesn't have a gain life here.
Yeah, Flame Imp's not going to help him here.
Even if he used life tap and got one, the most life gain that he has is that he couldn't even cast it. I mean, this is it.
He could Argent to take off the shield on the other one and then Flame Imp.
But then he's going to get killed. Wait, okay, so Ellis is at 6 mana, so I guess he does have 2 turns left.
Yeah, he can keep himself alive this next turn. So I think that's okay. I mean, he's got quote-unquote board control right now, but the health advantage is just way too big. I mean, it's just going to be Blizzard, and then it's going to be Pyroblast next turn. And you can just ping for one. So
laying down that, even if he gets one of these deal 2 damage, gain 2 life, it doesn't save him.
Yep, absolutely.
So
that's that.
It's got to be in the back of his mind that he might be about to get Pyroblasted.
Right, he doesn't know, so you have to play it through, but we know what's going to happen. There it is already.
And the Pyroblast, going to GG that one.
Yeah, that is it.
That's a fast deck right there, man.
Yeah, and LS will regain the lead, 2-1.
All right, so 2-1, GG. Let's go into game number 4. Okay, so we are 2-1 in favor of LS, and it looks like Strifecro, this game, choosing a Pally deck.
Yes.
It looks pretty mid-ranged overall. There's nothing... It doesn't look like there's anything too fancy. One thing that is very interesting here to me is he's playing plenty of token guys. Like, he has the Razorfen Hunters, and he has that Harvest Golem that he's becoming pretty well known for. But he's only playing one Sword of Justice, so it's not like really based off of making big tokens, big free guys that much.
Yeah, exactly. It's about drawing and stuff like that. And this is, it's kind of a bit of a unique sort of mid-range Paladin deck. It's not like the typical Divine Shield Paladin deck that you hear so much about. There is some Divine Shield in this, but it's more oriented about using that Sword of Justice to get large efficient creatures out, or like large mid-game anyway creatures out. But I don't know. This one's kind of, this one's going to be kind of interesting, because I feel like he's going to live or die on his secrets, you know? Because the secrets are what's going to make Last Shadow's creatures a little bit weaker. They're going to, you know, bring back some skills. Noble Sacrifice is a fantastic card when you're going aggression versus aggression. So, I mean, he's got Consecration too. It really depends on the draw. I'm a little bit nervous about only one Sword of Justice in there, but he's got enough removal otherwise that I think he should be okay.
I think he's going to stay on top of the minions. And you know, one thing the 2 cards that really jump out to me in this one for him are the fact that he plays 2 Blessing of Wisdom, which kind of makes some sense to me as well. It's just like he's gaining advantage all the time. Like, if he plays a guy that makes a token come out, right? Like, even, let's say he plays a Harvest Golem and then throws down Blessing of Wisdom on it, draws the card, so Blessing of Wisdom's already paid for, and then even that makes it such a big target, but you kill it and he still has the damage goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I love to do with my Paladin decks all the time is I actually put Blessing of Wisdom on one of my Silverhand recruits, just my 1/1s that I get with my hero ability, and I'll do that if I've got like another big threatening creature out on the board, because then, you know, you don't want to stock up all your good stuff onto one minion, because then it's easy for them to remove, right? But if you give them the choice between taking damage from your big minion or preventing you from getting more draw, that's a big threat to your opponent. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with Blessing of Wisdom and small tokens, and it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but in gameplay it generally works really, really well.
Yeah.
I like equality. I usually never run more than one in my decks though, so I'm a little bit surprised by that.
It's becoming one of my favorite cards personally. Like,
really,
if you look at it with Knife Juggler and the fact that he has all these token guys, like, you know, if you have a quality Knife Juggler and you play Razorfen Hunter, you're killing 2 of their minions a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, there's certainly a lot of good synergy with that too, but part of what makes mid-range Paladin strong is having these creatures that generally have more health and more attack than what they can play at that point in the game.
For his big guys, it's not much at all. It's like a couple Argents, Ragnaros that everyone plays, a Tyrion that every Paladin seems to throw one in.
You know, I guess with only one sort of Justice, you can run 2 equalities. But I usually lean more towards on the 2 Swords of Justice and maybe 1 equality, usually no equalities, because if I'm putting all this into like getting buffed creatures out, the last thing I want to do is reduce them all to 1 health again, you know? Even though it does work with Knife Juggler and all that, I feel like in my experience with it, a lot of times equality has been kind of a dead draw. So 2 of them in there I'm a little bit worried about. But no doubt that he knows his deck, and we'll see what he can do with it.
Indeed. Let's talk about the matchup just real quick before we start.
Yeah.
A Mage deck, a very aggressive Mage deck, against this kind of mid-rangey Paladin deck. I think that's a good matchup. Like, I don't look at it and be like, well, this is definitely going to Strifecro, or this is definitely going to LS. I feel like this is one where it's going to actually get played out, and who really knows how this is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, this one is going to be, it should be pretty even. It's going to, again, depend a lot on the draw. These guys are going to have to trade creatures really well. Just to, like, not to beat the equality thing to death, but playing equality also does make his creatures very vulnerable to things like Cone of Cold and Arcane Missiles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and just the Mage, Mage superpower.
So against first Mage specifically, that's another reason why I'm a little bit worried about equalities.
That is true. That equality definitely will allow his minions to get wasted.
Blizzard will kill everything.
I think Blizzard already kills almost everything in this deck.
Oh yeah, pretty much. That's why I always lean towards 2 Swords of Justice, you know. But we'll see what he does. I feel like I actually like LS's deck a little bit better in this case, but I think they are very even overall.
All right, well, we will see. You ready to start this? See if Strifecro can maybe tie it up?
We'll see.
All right, let's get right into it. Okay, LS, of course, has to stay on his Mage deck, and Strifecro, as we already saw, it's funny to see which decks he's working on. Like, a lot of Warlock. But he is going to go ahead and use his Paladin deck that we already talked about a little bit. I have had a chance to practice a little bit against this Paladin deck. It's pretty versatile. It kind of can deal with things pretty well. So we'll see if it can deal with the massive damage output. He doesn't really have life gain other than a couple True Silver Swords.
Well, that's one of the things I love about
whatever that's called.
True Silver Champion.
Oh, it's True Silver Champion, yeah.
And I love that card. It's so good. But it's I love mid-range Paladin too, because it is, I think, one of the best sort of catch-all styles of deck in the game.
I have to agree. It feels okay against everything. There's really nothing you're like, this is a loss. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, unless it's against like a rogue pre-patch, but that's a different story. All right, that's not a terrible hand. It's interesting. I think he's smart too. Oh, he actually didn't throw the Razorfen Hunter back.
Okay.
All right.
Either way, it's pretty solid overall. Ooh.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Now the question is, against a Mage though, do you play that turn 2 Knife Juggler? I kind of feel like
that's a hard question.
Yeah, it's a tough choice. Let's see what LS does first. I think he's going to coin into the Apprentice.
That's one of the best first turn plays. That or Mana Worm
choice
is the best thing that you can do.
Oh yeah. All right. So does he go for it?
With her out there, it's like
I would do it. I would actually do it because if you can make him trade that early on, it's kind of a wash, right? So does he want to give it up? The Loot Hoarder is a bit of a danger too, but
the thing is, the Loot Hoarder is going to pull no matter what. We're going to see him fireball that Loot Hoarder. You don't want to lose your Apprentice. It's going to happen. There you go. So it's kind of just a card draw, like a cycle. Like he used up turn 2 for Mage, which isn't the most useful turn. It's useful for things like what we just saw, I guess.
I actually totally forgot he had that in his hand. Never mind. All right, there's a Golem. So he's kind of playing a little bit slow to begin with, just kind of to see what he can get out of Last Shadow's hand, I guess.
That's a
And
nice
that's pretty
play.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what do you do with this golem? The golem is not as useful anymore.
Yeah.
He does have the Sword of Justice, so he can make it work.
He can sword.
He can try to randomly get something with Knife Juggler. He can sword it.
He really wants to get sword out at this point because the longer that he plays creatures while having that in his hand, the worse it gets, really.
It looks like he's going to go... Okay, he's going to play Knife Juggler, one other minion, it looks like.
Yeah.
Deal a damage, then just suicide the golem in. And then the golem will come out and deal another damage to something else so it can die next turn.
Yeah, he's going to give Divine Shield to his Knife Juggler, it looks
Yeah.
like, which is a good idea. Keep it alive.
I think Knife Juggler, man. Oh, wow.
He gives it to the Golem. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. He actually is able to kill the elf. But now it leaves his Knife Juggler pretty vulnerable. And it was vulnerable already to the Mage hero ability, too. But there's Blizzard.
That's painful right there.
That's really painful.
Ah, God, that is so painful. And now it's just a 2-1 golem there.
I don't know, man.
That's
It's
rough.
That's the
Foresight, man.
Yeah.
Or hindsight. That's it. Hindsight is 2020.
That's why I always like to play. Like when I play this kind of deck, I play the sword as soon as possible, no matter what. Because especially against a mage, you need to have more health to work with, and you're not going to have that until you have your sword giving your guys +1/+1. So he's dropped a lot of stuff from his hand already, pre-sword. He got the token, the 2/2 token, but he's in a rough spot. He can turn it around, but it's a rough spot.
Well, I don't know about this one right there. Gets rid of that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, he's going to freeze everything out. That makes some sense. So by freezing this, it's going to buy him some more time, get him some more mana out there. The thing is, he's bringing him so deadly low at this point. Pyroblast is in his hand already, and we know there's not much life gain at all. He can gain a maximum of 8 life with 4 sword attacks.
Yeah,
You know?
this is what I was worried about when we were talking about the matchup before that, is that the removal for Mage is generally just a little bit better for Paladin, and I feel like it's worth taking early damage to get the sword out faster, so that you are a little bit less vulnerable to that, but either way it was going to be a really hard matchup for him. And now, he could... he could use Equality and kill it with the sword. His other guys are 1 health already, so in this case I think it'd be fine. He could... what I would do here is Equality, kill with the sword, and then bring out the Razorfen Hunter to do the last 2 charges on it.
If he does the killing with the sword, I get it. He does need to get rid of her, but she needed to be gotten rid of a long time ago. Taking 4 more damage from her right now brings you within 1 of Pyroblast.
Well, certainly, it's
not
not
much
ideal.
longer.
It's not ideal, but we've got a couple turns till Pyroblast. So. Alright, so he's going to Equality into Consecration and just save the sword. So.
He's trying to not take any damage. Oh god, that's a good draw right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's pretty solid. That plus Arcane Intellect that's really solid. That's setting up for a strong turn 7. Oh god, look, he can Fireball next turn.
Yeah, I think
Strifecro's
Strifecro's pretty dead, man. It's that bad situation when you're playing against a mage and you're like, it doesn't matter what I play because he's just going to AoE everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does get the sword buff on all 3 of these guys now, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage incoming, but the thing is,
It's really weird that the board came out to the left of the Razorfen Hunter. It's actually odd.
All he needs to do right now is Fire Blast and, anything else, really.
Yeah.
I would probably ping just to make sure he's really low, because let's say he plays a sword, he can live through a Pyroblast next turn, but no, I guess no matter what, he's dead, right?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be Knife Juggler, but he can't really do anything after that aside from a token. I say you just go... well, he's got Tyrion Forgring, but...
I think you play Tyrion just hoping there's no Pyroblast.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
You could also Blessing of Wisdom into a hopeful True Silver Champion to give yourself a little bit more health. That's what I would go for in this case, because it gives you the most chance of survival. Because the thing is he's probably going to want to kill the elf with one of his minions, but you need to have that chance for the life gain, and he's going to do it. Doesn't get the life gain.
Not the worst draw.
Yeah,
it's something that can at least stop an Argent or something.
Yeah. And it can also synergize with the Secret too. The Knife Juggler can rather, but we know what's coming now.
Well, unfortunately, this is going to be it for Strifecro.
Yeah.
Always feels good to kill him on turn 8 with that Pyroblast. And,
it really does.
That's it. GG. It looks like it's going to be 3-1 so far for LS over Strifecro. That's match point. We're going to see Strifecro's very last deck.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
So LS leads 3-1, and we're going to see Strifecro's last deck that he has here. Now, luckily for him, it's a priest deck, and priest does best against mage, in my opinion, Doa. Like, it's just, it has the most life gain, so it can be really tough when you're using actual spells, and they're gaining card advantage via healing themselves. You know, that's like the ultimate card advantage, because not only are they taking away the way you're trying to win right there, but it's hurting because you don't have as many cards, and it can be tough. So it's a good final deck for Strifecro to be using here. This is a weird version.
It is. It's a bit of an oddball deck. I like it. It's kind of like a little bit direct damage, a little bit sort of delay control style, but I really, really want to see how this one plays out because I like it. You don't see Mind Blast in a lot of priest decks, which is pretty cool that he's got 2 of them in there. But I think this really seems like a very tailored anti-mage deck almost, honestly, because like you said, I mean, the mages have always kind of struggled against priests because priests have a lot of the same direct damage numbers, but then also healing on top of that. So I think it's going to be kind of tough for Ellis going into this, but I don't know. It's whenever you see these weird decks, it's like, is it consistent? That's the big question. You know?
Well, you know, that's actually something he's been working on with priest, because he doesn't play priest as much, but he was talking to me a lot about, you know, Strifecro is actually just so smart. He's such a smart guy. He was talking about how early game the priest power is underpowered because every other class uses their hero power early on. Like, you can do things with it. Early on for priest, though, it's not worth as much, generally speaking. You can't use it if no damage has happened. It's just kind of very circumstantial, not that good. So his idea was to kind of make the priest deck work out by adding in more 2-drops, more early game stuff. And as we can see here, look at this, right? He has a couple Mind Blasts, which is really interesting because he does have more 2-drops, which means it is more aggressive, which means Mind Blast kind of makes sense in a certain way.
I think so.
I've not seen it used yet, but it's kind of a cool idea. And then, you know, he has the Loot Hoarders, the Novice Engineers, and he's kind of focusing on these lower mana cost minions to try to get through. So
right.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, the idea, it appears the idea is that he's able to kind of keep even on the damage that he's receiving in the early game through things like Mind Blast, and he's also able to get card draw to sort of like ramp a little bit hand size wise into a stronger late game. And he's got some good 3s and 4s for taunting and staying safe, like going Shattered Sun Cleric and Injured Blade Master, and then Defender of Argus on top of those is going to be really strong. And I mean, he's got Holy Nova in there too, so he's got a way to sort of mitigate some of the damage, but then also keep up on the damage that he's receiving through like Mind Blast. So we'll see if it works out. It's a really, it looks like a really cool deck. I'm actually really excited about this one because it's one of the most aggressive priest decks I've seen, I think.
Yeah, it's aggressive in a different way than a lot of them are just so minion based. And while this is very minion based, the Mind Blast is the most interesting part. And the one thing I do want to point out, no Holy Fires. And Holy Fire is one of the best cards against Mage. Like, just the sudden 5 health gain. It's a 10 life swing against Mage.
Yeah,
which
huge.
I guess technically it probably is against everything, but like, it's like you do it and it's like your next fireball doesn't count. That type of thing. It's like, here's my fireball, your next one doesn't count. And it costs 1. Anyways, it's a good card against Mage. So here are the decks that we have. You ready to get this started? See if Ellis can wrap it up?
Let's do it, man. You can close it out with a win right here, but I've got a good feeling about this one. I don't know. Let's see.
Here we go. It's time. Ellis, of course, has to stay on it. Here is that Mind Blaster deck. I'm so interested to see the way that he utilizes this.
I'm really
Mind Blaster's
excited.
so neat, man.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward, but I'm really curious to see how it works out against an aggressive Mage deck like this. I mean, we all know that like Mage is kind of traditionally countered by priests in this game.
Yeah.
It's just straight up, you know, kind of a counter match. So but with this though, with the aggression that this Mage deck has, I feel like he can maybe get around some of the pitfalls that mages usually have against priests by doing so much damage early on. But that's a rough starting hand. Oh man.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
Oh, that's actually not good.
No, that's a pretty terrible hand to start with. But
well, never mind.
We'll see. You know, it is a priest deck, so sometimes it's okay to have not as good a beginning starting hand because they aren't going to kill you too quick, but then their life gain can kick in.
I think we've got a pretty good hand on the other side, unfortunately. So
I actually really like this hand. Coining that out, then you can get the Loot Hoarder and then some Shattered Sun Clerics. So it's going to be solid.
Exactly. A little bit of damage on there.
No.
Oh,
there we go.
A
little bit of choppiness.
It is a beta, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's okay. So now next turn he's going to be going into his buffing dudes.
So now we'll probably just see the ping right there, right? Yeah, and then he's going to have the 2/2 elf attacking.
Yep, that's right.
And I'm glad that you do agree it's an elf.
It is an elf. This one is an elf. Yeah, Shattered Sun Cleric is an elf.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh
this,
no, that is definitely not an elf.
It certainly is. They're working together. You can see they both have those ears. So attacks for 2 right there.
It's like an elf cosplaying as an elf.
Now, let's see. Okay, I think you Frostbolt right there. You need to slow this down, this onslaught so far, because right now, from LS's point of view, this is kind of an aggressive priest deck. He's kind of starting to figure it out.
Yep, exactly. Well, he's probably wondering, why we've got all these neutral creatures coming out, where are the clerics and all that. So it's got to be throwing him just a little bit if he's not familiar with the deck. And he's in this awkward situation where he can't really kill it minion to minion. He could play another Shattered Sun Cleric, but he'd still be trading 3/3 for 2/3. But given the fact that worm is only going to get bigger, it's probably a good idea.
I like the defender.
Yeah.
He actually brought him down into ping range. I didn't like that move. I liked the defender, but maybe he's just really afraid of that cleric, or the worm. Why did I call it a cleric? But the mana worm is a scary card.
Yeah. Well, it's gone now, so that's good. Alright, so he can still buff up his gnome with the Shattered Sun Cleric if he wants to.
Yeah, but if he puts everything at 2 health, that's a little bit scary, right?
It's like he's going to.
Okay, he's going to heal it up. Yeah. That's a good move. So he's at least got 2 things that'll live through Blizzard here. So even though Blizzard's a really good move at this point if he wants to do it, ooh, Blizzard plus Arcane Missiles, that's perfect.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That's a
We'll see how lucky he gets with this one. I mean, he could get the perfect one.
Good enough.
Pretty
good
good.
enough.
Pretty
He can
good.
ping that later on if it doesn't get healed. So
that's not bad.
That kind of limits Strifecro right now to 4 mana, I would say, because he should heal this Shattered Sun Cleric.
Oh, definitely.
It only makes sense when you're at 29 life.
Yep, exactly. You want to keep that 3/3 out, even if you can't do anything with it, and you want to make sure that they have to use more than just their hero ability to take it out. So using that and then using the other 4 to get out maybe the injured Blade Master. He could also Mind Blast here for 5 damage and get a little more of a lead, but nope, there's the Blade Master.
I like this. A couple 3 health minions, that's not the easiest for Mage to deal with right now, unless they happen to have spell power plus Blizzard or something like that.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, he does have Cone of Cold, but that only serves to kind of lock them up for 1 turn.
That actually could be a good play here.
He's at 20 health though. That's the issue, is that he can't take a whole lot more damage. So yeah, he really is kind of forced into using Cone of Cold this turn.
He could use a polymorph, as he could cast his little guy and do polymorph.
Yeah, well here's the issue, is that he had to choose between the Mana Worm and the Cone of Cold, or the Dark Iron Dwarf and Cone of Cold, because he wants to get a 4/4 out, because it's a significant creature, and it's really priest-proof, But I think getting the Mana Worm out and rolling is a better idea, because you can always bring in the Dwarf later.
I like that he pinged the Cleric there, so now it's like a really hard choice. Who do you heal up in this situation?
Oh yeah.
I think a Holy Nova actually wouldn't be the worst move. I don't think that's... You know what? Why not Argent Commander here? Argent Commander, take out Mana Worm.
I think that's fine. He's going to go with the Holy Nova, though.
Okay. He's just going to preserve his creatures. That's not a bad move either, though, as we were saying before. Just get that health really high. He's still at 30 health himself, so that's a strong place to be at.
And he may not know, too, that there's no Flame Strikes in this deck as well. So,
yeah,
still,
that's true.
If anything is sub 4 health, it's going to be vulnerable to that. So, he might still be worried a little bit about it, even though it doesn't exist in the deck. Sheeped.
Whoa, that's a lot of damage this turn.
It is.
Especially when you're not taking out the sheep, because the sheep 100% is going to hit that Mana Worm. So,
yeah.
Alright, but at least it gives him a 4/4 on the board, right? So that's pretty useful. He's starting to get the damage in a little bit.
I feel like this is a situation, you Argent Commander, and then get that board advantage, do a little bit of damage, and he's still got enough. He's going to actually go for the draw, saving that Mind Blast for like a killing move, it looks like.
Yeah, no sense to play it quite yet, right? It doesn't give him any additional position. That's really one of the last cards he should be playing, unless his hand gets full or something weird.
Good amount of damage and control.
Okay, if he wins 2 more turns somehow. You know what? If there was no Mind Blast in here, maybe he'd have a chance, but it's looking pretty slim to none with... Ooh, even...
Oh, it's Ragnarok's time, though.
Even a Rag could come out here. He even could go the Prophet Velen and heal himself for 4.
Yeah.
And that actually... Oh, God. Oh God, I
That'll
forgot
do it.
about that. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that'll do
good. Okay,
Oh man. All right. Well,
that's pretty sick.
Strifecro stays alive. I like it.
GG. Okay, so Strifecro bringing it back. It's 3-2.
Yeah.
LS is on the match point, right?
Yep, still is. Yeah, if he takes this one, he takes the entire series. It is a best of 7, so this is his chance to get 4 wins yet again. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the Mind Blaster deck worked okay, but now we've got straight up Divine Shield coming out from Last Shadow.
Yeah, he's using a Divine Shield deck, and of course everyone's hit Divine Shield Paladins. It's a good deck, it's a solid deck. It has been since basically the beginning, as soon as people kind of figured out that Divine Shield was one of the best abilities.
It's like the first deck I made in this game was just, I was like, oh, Divine Shield looks really good, and then you know what? It was.
Yeah. This, let's take a look at anything interesting in it. He's got a lot of one-ofs. That's kind of LS's style. He likes to play one-ofs.
Yeah, he includes stuff like Lay on Hands, which you don't see in a lot of Paladin decks, especially a lot of Divine Shield stuff, because usually you want the game to be over before you're really worrying about Lay on Hands and things like that. I mean, it's okay. He's got 3 8-drops in here. He's got that, Ragnaros, and Tyrion Fordring as well. And Tyrion always ends up in every Divine Shield deck and like every Paladin deck anyway, because he's so good. He's a great closer, because even if you kill him, you still get that 5/3 weapon.
And a 5/3 weapon, that's like some of the best stats on any weapon in the game.
That's a game-ending weapon.
Yeah, I mean that's 15 in swings right there.
Yeah.
Lay on Hands you brought up, actually, something I'd like to talk about for just a second. I think people are really split on that card. Some people like it, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
What do you think on it? What's your opinion? Do you like Lay on Hands?
Stylistically, for me, it's a bit too expensive to fit into a lot of decks, because by the time I get to that 8 mana point, which I don't want to get to begin with, you know, I want to win the game before I get there, but if I get to it, I want to be playing things like Ragnaros and Tyrion. You know, I want to be closing the game, and I feel like a card like Lay on Hands, it can be a good card in some situations, but in what is supposed to be an aggressive deck, it artificially extends the length of the game with a deck that you normally want to go quicker on. So personally, I'm sure it works out for him, but I wouldn't use it in my deck. I'm also a little bit surprised too that he doesn't have Divine Favor in this deck, which is okay for his particular deck, because his is more of a later mid-range deck, whereas a lot of the other Divine Shield decks you see are more early mid-range, and so they drop a lot of stuff from their hand quickly and they need Divine Favor to catch up to their opponents. So he's not running it because he's planning on taking a little bit longer anyway. He's also got Blessing of Wisdom for card draw. So I can see that, but I don't know, I just love Divine Favor. It's a great card, but Lay on Hands is the one that I'm a really big question about.
I'm actually a fan of Lay on Hands. It's a little bit clunky, but the card very oftentimes is like 4 for 1. You know, for 8 mana, 4 for 1, I'll take it. You know,
it's a good card, but I think this is just our style difference.
No, it is.
I'm aggro. I'm
more of
gonna
a
kill people as fast as I can. Yeah.
But okay, so this is the deck that we're going to be seeing going up against Mind Blaster. What do you think about? Can Mind Blaster deal with a deck like this? It's a little bit different because a lot of the mid-range Paladin decks, they have a lot more minions with higher health.
Yeah.
That can help you out against like a Divine Shield type deck, where it's like, yes, I have Divine Shield, but I can weather the storm, heal my minions off, and be fine. Whereas this one is a little bit smaller than the minions, you know, like Loot Hoarders, Novice Engineers, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to basically die at the first hit from some of the minions that LS has.
You know, it really depends on the draws that he got, because LS does have a lot of those stronger mid-range minions, but the thing is that they really succeed well because of Sword of Justice in a lot of cases. So he can still trade efficiently, but unless he gets that Sword of Justice early on, it's not going to be quite as good. So this one could really go either way. I mean, you've still got all the utility with the Northshire Cleric that could come out really quickly. I mean, LS has stuff like Argent Protector, Argent Squire. That is not stuff you're going to be playing against the first turn Northshire Cleric, because you're just going to be basically giving them more card draw because of it. So it really depends on the opening hands. I feel like this game in this series, more than any of the other games we've seen, is going to be the most influenced by the player's opening hands.
You know what? I think I think you're pretty accurate on that, man. So much, especially when you're playing Paladin, does come down against priests to do they have that Northshire Cleric in that opening hand, because three toughness is hard to get rid of sometimes. You know, maybe people need to play more acidic oozes or more more fairy dragons. I don't know.
Fairy Dragon's great, man. But that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other story.
Such a good card.
All right, well, this is game number 6. Let's go ahead and see if we can have Strifecro bring it to the final match. Here we go. It's game number 6. Strifecro, of course, he is down on his last deck, that Mind Blaster deck.
The moment of truth yet again.
For LS, he's trying to figure out, does he use his Control Warlock deck, or does he use Divine Shield? And of course, we already know.
It's no mystery there. All right, so there we go. Just polishing his mana crystals.
Yeah, sweeping up a little bit of minion dust. Got to keep your desk clean.
They turn into dust, I guess. I never really thought of that before.
Yeah.
I thought the cards turned into dust, but apparently minions do too. Oh, that is a great hand.
I like that opening hand. I do have to say I love it. That's pretty smooth. Turn 1, Noble Sacrifice. Turn 2, Coin the Sword.
Dude, yeah. When you can coin out a Sword of Justice and then go right into Bloodsail Raider for the 4/4 for 2.
Oh my god, and then a Blood Knight too? And the thing is, Blood Knight, you want to steal Divine Shields with him, but that's another 4/4. Yeah. I mean, that's 4/4 against a Priest is exactly what you want.
Exactly. That's a great hand. And a kind of a rough hand for Strifecro. He throws everything back, and that's still...
Shadow Word Death, gonna be useless against 2 4/4 minions.
You know, we talked about it going into it. This game was going to be really, really influenced by the starting hands, and LS came out way ahead in that regard.
He has a way better starting hand here.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what he can do. Secret first turn, why not? Never a bad idea. And next turn he's going to get that Sword of Justice. Meanwhile, not a whole lot.
Right.
Strifecro.
Yeah, I mean, Strifecro, the Holy Smite isn't going to do that much. He's going to have to pair it up with another card to remove one of these minions.
Yeah.
There's the coined out sword.
Oh, man.
Oh, God, this is actually really rough already for him.
And he can sit on that Tyrion, too, that's in his hand for a while. That's actually fine that he do that now.
This is good, though. All right, he's got the Injured Blade Master out with healing and that little 2-point of damage. There's actually a lot he can get done here.
He's got 2 Bloodsail Raiders, though. He can easily sacrifice one of these and bring out another one next turn. Yeah, he actually just drew another.
Strifecro is going to probably attack into it, though, and the thing is, with that secret out, it's not even going to die.
Exactly, and he's also going to kill it, because the secret's going to do 3 damage because of the sword.
Well, will he heal? He'll heal before he attacks. For sure he'll heal before he attacks.
He should do it, but we'll see. He may just want to put down a Shattered Hand too.
He could do that.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, he knows this. He's probably thinking that this secret is the Defender one because that's the most common Paladin secret, in my opinion.
He should know. It's probably the most useful in a lot of cases. So yeah, he should be. And plus, he played the creature. Yeah, I know. I mean, he played the creature and it didn't get reduced to 1 health, so that does eliminate a little bit of it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
He's thinking about it. Yeah.
Oh god, what do you do here? There's like a lot of options. Do you even attack here? You just let it be?
I think you can. I think you have to attack. At some point you need to get out of the way.
I like that. That's a good move, right?
Totally fine.
Saves him. Yeah. He has 2 minions out right now. The thing is, I do think the Paladin will probably just swing into that.
Yep.
There's no reason to leave that.
I would totally attack with my weapon in this case. You can afford to take 5 damage and keep your 4/4 alive. And he's actually going to be able to hand a protection too if he wants, but no, I would use my sword for that one.
Yeah, no, I would probably save that last token for the Blood Knight. Like, just having 4/4s is amazing. And look at that, he clears the board, 2 4/4s out. Yep. He's going to have a third. That's like the impossible number to deal with for a Priest deck. For attack, man, that's where it's at.
This is really the perfect storm of like awful for Strifecro in this game so far. Can he bring it back? He's got a Holy Nova. He can do a little bit of damage. He can pair that up with Holy Smite, but I'm not feeling too confident.
Well, he's going to be full of holes because he's going to take 8 next turn, right? And the Shadow Word Death, that's not going to be useful.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to synergize with the Defender of Argus.
Oh god, he hits go.
Can't do anything, yeah. It's just he got a really bum hand, and Last Shadow got an awesome hand.
Oh god, and another Secret coming out, and that was Redemption, I do believe.
Yeah,
and actually he's just not going to play anything. He's actually, and this is a fine move by him as well, this to just sit here, because he knows that this is so impossible to deal with. Look at that, now he's got both of his Shadow Words. They do nothing. He's got Holy Nova, that he can get rid of 1. I think he's gonna Holy Nova this turn.
Yeah.
Strifecro in a very tough spot. So he gets rid of 1 and gains a little bit of health. That's good at least.
Funny thing is, it's gonna come back at 4/2 again.
That's true. He sells the weapon.
Yeah. Or 3/2, my bad. Yeah.
Well, Yeah, that's right. The battle cry does not activate, but still, that's just another minion. That's a lot of damage going down on Strifecro.
You know, it's weird that like battle cries don't activate, but stuff like Divine Shield still pops up on a guy when you bring it back with that secret. It's always been something I kind of have been a little bit on the fence about when I consider the card.
Well, the wording, I'm sure it'll get refined over time.
Right.
See, here, Mind Blast, not the most useful card. Strifecro just doesn't have anything in his hand that's worthwhile right now, right?
He's actually... I don't think there's really a way that he can come back.
Well, yeah, he's going to take 8, bring him down to 7, and then he can Mind Control, at least. He can Mind Control the haste, or the charge minion here, the Argent.
True Silver Champion, though, and there's that. He's going to have that 6/6
God.
now. Yeah.
And he's actually spreading out just in case of Mind Control. Really smart move there by LS to steal that, the Argent Commander's...
yeah, totally.
His Divine Shield.
Yeah, so that should be... That should be it, because I don't think Strifecro can get rid of all the creatures and heal himself up enough to avoid the True Silver Champion damage.
No, there's 12 points even if he gets rid of that 1.
Yeah.
Looking at that hand, absolutely not. He just doesn't have enough mana. He has nothing on the board. LS definitely getting the better run this game.
He's got it. That is it. It's gonna be 4-2 for LS. I've got a feeling, unless he's got like more cards hidden in that hand that we can't see. Yeah. Novice Engineer is going to try to draw for something, and the Argent Commander is a great card, but not.
No, it's not enough, and that's it. Well played, both sides.
Yeah.
And that's the GG. LS is our first King of the Hill here at IHEARTHU.com. Congratulations to him, taking out Strifecro 4-2. Pretty good games from both sides, I do have to say. Big thanks to Strifecro for playing in this, of course.
Yep, really cool set of games.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed the cast. This is really one of the first times that we've tried to do something like this here. But make sure you check out IHEARTHU.com. And, of course, big cheers to Simpatico, who has produced all of this, and, of course, our players. And we will be announcing very soon our next one. We're planning on doing a lot of King of the Hills.
It's going to be awesome.
We're going to aim for at least one a week. So, tune in for that. And we'll see you guys later.
Yep, thanks for watching, guys.